Hey guys, it's Brownbag talking sports here again to talk about the wildcard weekend. This time I'll be focusing on the AFC side of things so that I can have more time to prepare for the Eagles at Chicago game tomorrow. So with that being said, let's get into it. The first game we'll be looking at is the Colts and Texans. The Colts got the wildcard spot at the end of week 17. It was a bit of a disappointing game because Marcus Mariota was injured and they had to play Blaine Gabbert. There was a period in time where the game was kind of close because Andrew Luck threw a pick six, but yeah, Colts pulled it out and they got away with the victory. This entire season, the Colts the Colts have just been grinding it out, man. They were 1-5 to start the season, but they brought it back, man. They brought it back. I give a lot of credit to, of course, Andrew Luck in this situation because, of course, he's a quarterback and he's an essential part of the offense. But the O line has improved a lot since their 1-5 start. They've been protecting Andrew Luck a lot and giving him time to actually make plays. That was the main issue for a few years now. Andrew Luck would just not get protection and he always get injured or he just always get pressured in the game. So it's always nice to see Andrew Luck. It's great to see him actually get into the playoffs. Dude's been playing lights out. Of course that's thanks to his O-line, but dude still has, at the end of the day, the quarterback still has to do his job. And I see no problem giving him credit for this. But yeah. Um Texans. The Texans are very similar too. They start off 0-3, but then they won 9 straight. They always won some really close games, but at the end of the day, the win is all that matters. So lots of credit goes to Deshaun Watson, of course, Lamar Miller. Their receiving core as a whole, I just think is very elite. JJ Watt, dude's been killing it all year. They've just been pressuring dudes. They've just been amazing this year. But for the actual game, my thoughts on this game is going to be more focused on the O-line because a lot of people going into this will focus more on the QBs and how they play, and rightfully so. Andrew Luck and Deshaun Watson have been playing great. And like I said before, the QB is obviously one of the most important aspects of the offense. Unless if you have a really good running game, your offense is just dead. But I'm mostly looking at the O lines in this situation. Andrew Luck, like I said before, has an amazing O line for him. They've just been doing a great job all year, giving him time to pass, giving him time to make a play. Just been amazing. But Deshaun, on the other hand, his his offensive line has just been, they haven't been playing particularly well. They don't really do that well of a job protecting Deshaun Watson. Um, Dude has been sacked all year. Even if you look at his highlights, most of the time when he makes a play, it comes out of the pocket. He has to dance around and actually look for somebody. It's not like with Lamar Jackson where they actually design it for the QB to run. Deshaun is just making plays without his O line. We really need to fix that because I was leaning more towards the Texans before. Earlier this week, I was leaning more towards the Texans, but looking back on the season, they have to really improve. That's all I'm gonna say on the Texans O line because they can't give up. They can't give up sacks. They can't give up that type of stuff. Credit to Deshaun. He's really good playing out of the pocket. Um, that's where a lot of his plays come from. But you need a reliable O-line. And if he can't get that, he's going to be the next Andrew Luck, because dude has a great arm. He can even scramble a bit. But if he has no O-line, if the pocket is just dead like 1 or 2 seconds after the snap, then they're just going to have some rough time. I just trust the Colts O-line a lot more. I think this will be still like a high-scoring game somewhat. Like, it's obviously not going to be the Rams versus the Chiefs, but I think this will be somewhat a high-scoring game. And I'll say the Colts win 27-24. I think they'll win. On to the next game. Chargers face Baltimore for the second time this entire season, but this time it's different. They're actually in Baltimore. The Chargers were a really hot team. They played lights out. I mean, a 16-point comeback in Pittsburgh, a 14-point comeback in the fourth quarter in Kansas City. I mean, that's just wild, man. I mean, these guys have been playing amazing. Phillip Rivers is having an MVP caliber season. They're playing really well. Kind of late into this season, but these past couple of games, when they played Baltimore in their own home, the Chargers just couldn't really do anything. They were held down to 10. Granted, there were a few terrible calls, like there was an offensive pass interference call. I forget who the player was, but it just wasn't a good call. Hopefully the referees as a whole are just better in this postseason. Hope they pull out their best referees, because they clearly did not for the regular season. But anyway, they got screwed over with a few penalties, with a few ill-timed penalties, but there were multiple opportunities for them to win that. They played an okay game against the Broncos. They won 23-9. But here's the thing with that. If you look back on the game, they looked kind of sloppy. They weren't having their best game. Phillip Rivers wasn't having his best game. I mean, he had 2 interceptions. Dude was kind of off. But their defense held it out, and they got it. They got the win. I think that the Baltimore Ravens can win this, but it all depends on Lamar Jackson. He needs to protect the ball. Now let me first say Lamar Jackson has been amazing for this Baltimore team as a whole. His ability to get out of the pocket, his ability to run, it just works wonders for this defense. It gives them plenty of time to rest, and it gives them a lot of confidence knowing that they have a QB who can run. His throwing ability has improved since he first started. There are some times when it can be questionable, but those questionable moments have dropped significantly. This Baltimore team is solid. They have a strong defense. They have a pretty decent offensive plan. But Lamar Jackson can be turnover heavy. When he first started, the first couple of games, he had a lot of turnovers. He threw some picks, and he fumbled the ball a couple times. That was actually the main reason they lost that Chiefs game, because he fumbled there. But I want to bring up a more recent time. They were playing the Browns in Week 17. Win and you win the division. Lamar Jackson the offense is going down the field. They're on the 1-yard line. All Jackson has to do is QB sneak it. He goes up, he jumps up, but then the ball's knocked out. The ball was punched out on the 1-yard line. Now, at least it was knocked out. First off, I want to say that his turnover, the the amount of turnovers that he either throws or fumbles has gone down significantly since he first started. But things like that put the Browns back in the game. I mean, I can't remember the exact score, but it was high enough to the point if you scored another touchdown that basically iced the game. But here's something I noticed. For whatever reason, Baltimore gets very complacent when they have like a high lead. They kind of slow down on you, and they don't really keep that momentum up. They just kind of give up in a sense. But yeah, that put the Browns back in the game. I can't exactly remember the scores, but that gave life to the Browns, and that really could have been a really costly error to the Ravens, because the Pittsburgh already won their game, and as long as the Ravens lost, Pittsburgh would have been in and would have won the division. But thankfully for the Ravens, the Browns turned the ball over late in the game, so that basically iced the game. But Lamar Jackson can't fumble. He can't turn over the ball in situations like that. Those are incredibly important situations. You cannot turn the ball over. And I'm focusing on this point a lot because this is like one of the main weaknesses of their team. And it seems that the Ravens can never just close out a game. They can never just ice the game. They just have to keep their opponent in it for whatever reason. That's something I notice about them. They just really need to focus on not turning the ball over. But I think, nevertheless, that Baltimore wins this 24-17. Let's say that. 24-17. I think that Phillip Rivers will have a little bit more of an easier time this time around. But I think that Ravens defense will just be too much for them. And even though Rivers will keep them in the game, I just think that the Ravens can win it. I think they can knock it out. That's my discussion for these for the AFC games, for the AFC wildcard games. I'm gonna go edit this real quick because I have about 3 hours before the Colts game starts. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time for the Eagles at Chicago game. Brownbag signing out. Just don't turn the ball over, Lamar, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.